like to welcome everyone to our regular meeting for the month of May already. Time flies. We always open our meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance. And tonight, Ms. Burns, who do we have?
We've got Lane Stevens and Lily Stevens. Lane's in pre-K and Lily's in second grade. And we have the assistant principal of Castleman Creek, Ms. Bowling here. Her sweet girls, we have Jocelyn, who is in second grade, and Kendall, who's in first grade.
Outstanding.
They're very excited. Oh, and Mr. Isaac Popejoy was supposed to join us, but he's not feeling well.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all very much. Thank you very much. Following the pledge, we always have recognitions, and tonight we've got a number of really outstanding recognitions, and I'm going to turn it over to the superintendent and Mr. Witt.
All right, Mr. Russick, members of the board. Yes, tonight I'm assisted by Mr. Colin Witt. Very pleased that you all are here today. We have a number of student recognitions. It's always this time of year, of course, in the month of May, and we're excited to be able to celebrate the achievement of these fine students. Just want to begin also by letting everyone know that we do take a short break, though, at the end of recognitions. You're more than welcome to stay for our entire meeting, but if you do not, we do take a short break so that you can leave. So please enjoy our recognitions. And tonight we have many from Midway High School, correct? And so I'll introduce to you Miss Allison Smith, who is going to start with our BPA National Competitors. So Allison, come forward, please.
Good evening, board and Dr. Zanis and all of our parents that are here with us tonight. So I have quite a few of presentations tonight, so if you'll just bear with me, but I'd love for you to applaud anytime you want to. Totally fine. These kids deserve it. So with BPA, we had 10 Midway High School students that competed at the BPA National Leadership Conference, which is the highest level of competition for BPA. Tonight, we're going to introduce some of our kiddos, and congratulations. We're going to start with the Midway Virtual Multimedia and Promotion Team. And so first I have John Michael Bellin. And I have his other three teammates, Drew Majors, Wade Whitney, and we have one other member. She's not here tonight. It's Charlie Yorman. She might be playing a little bit of softball because we might be heading into more playoffs this week. So their team qualified to compete at the national conference through the virtual competitions and earned a second place finish at nationals. So that's a huge accomplishment. I have another team, so we would also like to recognize the video production team. The team consists of Andrew Block, and we have Zach Davatashvili, and then two other members, Gavin Millerick and Zach Williams. He's not here. So these students qualified for nationals at the state and as state champions with a first place finish and earned 7th place at the national conference. We have a few more, so I'm going to keep on going. Congratulations also to national qualifiers Oleg Pittman, and I don't think he's here. I didn't see him, and Ben Lloyd. And Oleg earned 2nd place in the Python programming at state, and Ben placed 3rd in the digital media production at state. Thank you as well to the BPA sponsors, and I'm have them come on up because they spend many hours with the kiddos. And so we have Kyle Rogers and Susan Jones. And these sponsors accompany the teams to nationals, and congratulations to all the students and the teachers for their hard work. Thank you, guys. Good job. And our next group is something new that started at Midway High School for the first time this year. Good job, guys. We would also like to recognize the Midway High School's Rocket League esports team, who advanced through 5 rounds of competition to earn an impressive second-place finish in the Texas State Championship. Many people don't know much about esports, and so this is a new thing that's up and coming for our kids, and kids can earn scholarships to college. Just a little bit of background on that. And Rocket League is a game you play on like a PS4, PS5, Xbox, all those things. I do know how to play it. I'm not good at it. These kids are phenomenal at it. And so there were 97 school districts that entered the competition this year, and this group of students earned a spot as one of the top 2 teams in the state. Congratulations to Gabriel Rodriguez. And Gabriel diligently advocated for an esports team here at Midway High School for the last 4 years, and we're able to supply that to him for this year. Junior Edwin Torres. And sophomore Chucky Castillo. And of course, this wouldn't be a team without a coach, which is Coach BJ Williams, and I think he's here tonight too. And guys, if you've never seen Rocket League with 3 guys that play like these guys play, I might have been screaming louder than some of the kids in the DLC. It was by far one of the best matches I think I've ever seen. And so great job, guys. We're super proud of y'all. So congratulations. Yes. Next up, we have the Vase Art Competition. And so Midway High School art student Anna Sego, she's going to go ahead and come up, and I'm going to talk about her for a minute. She competed in this year's annual Texas Art Education Association Visual Arts Scholastic event. It's called Vase. And was awarded a medal at the state level. Anna advanced through both regional and the area competitions to compete against entries from high schools across the state. Congratulations to Anna on her state medal, and thank you to the Midway High School art teacher, Mr. John Storm, who's here with her tonight, who helped her enter the competition. So come on up, Mr. Storm. And we had one other group we were going to honor tonight, but we'll be back with them in June. I believe their coach and some of their kiddos are out sick, and so it's our unified track and field program that did amazing this year. So we'll come back and honor them in June. And next up, I have a whole lot of things going on tonight. So congratulations to Midway High School senior Christine Iwala. Come on in, Christine. So Christine is new to Midway High School this year. I'm going to give a few more details about Christine because y'all have to know how amazing she is. She was selected as an All-American basketball player this year and played in the All-American game. She will be attending UCLA in the fall, where she is a commit to play women's basketball. The thing about Christine is Christine moved here from San Antonio, Reagan, and did not get approval for us to have her on varsity this year. So Christine played JV all season as a 4th-year senior who was going to play at UCLA, and that takes a ton of heart and passion. And so I just want to throw that out there because that's huge, because she was instrumental on the bench in keeping our varsity girls in the game and going and doing really well this season. So we're so proud of Christine for all of her hard work and dedication. It took a lot of time and effort and just well-deserved honor. And I think her coach, Selena Winbush, is here. Come on up. She's filming, but she's coming up. So again, players with coaches. So here's her coach, Miss Selena Winbush. So congratulations, Christine. We're super proud of you. So. So I promise this is coming up on the last page. So this year, after winning the Regional Citizen B competition, Grace Collins, we're going to have her come on in. Come on in, Grace. which that sounds like a small task, but it's really not a small task. She advanced to represent Midway High School at the state level competition in April. The Texas Citizen Bee is a statewide education program and competition including both a written test and oral rounds. Grace worked hard to prepare for the Texas Citizen Bee by learning about the U.S. Constitution, Supreme Court cases, important Americans and historical events, civic values and skills, and current events. Congratulations to Grace on her achievement to be honoring or representing Midway High School at the state level for the Citizen Bee. And the team sponsor is Miss Baranowski. Sarah Baranowski, come on up. So Grace, you're going to stay right there, so don't go anywhere. So we also this year, for the first time, and I'm just going to ad-lib here a little bit because we brought home a trophy, and it's the first time that Midway High School has brought home the Rotary Challenge Trophy. And so we'd like to recognize the members of our team that won this trophy, and Grace Collins is one. Carson Lutz just snuck in here, and and then we have Carly Williams, and then of course Neon Zing. So the Rotary Challenge is the one that you see on TV, and our kids, like I said, brought home the trophy, and we should have brought it with us tonight, but we didn't. They defeated several other teams by correctly answering questions about a variety of subjects in the Quiz Bowl style competition. Congratulations on making history for Midway High School. And then to add to this a little bit, the full UIL academic team is invited next month, but since Carson Lutz is a graduating senior and he's here with us tonight, we'd like to take the opportunity to recognize him for competing in the state UIL academics meet this spring. Carson has succeeded in earning the title of 6A state champion in literary criticism after winning first place in the event, which is huge. And congratulations to you, Carson. It's certainly not easy to make the state level in any competition. It's even more challenging to win. So we're very proud of Carson for his impressive achievement. We look forward to recognizing the rest of the UIL state teams. And I've got Miss Baranowski and Miss Marcia Alvarado. And I believe Miss Alvarado was really the lit crit guru. Am I right? And she needs that credit for that because that's a very difficult competition. So congratulations.
And that concludes our recognitions.
Now's the time for that pause for those of you who might have other things you want to do this May evening. But if you want to stay, it's a public meeting. Delighted to have you. This to our newly elected / declared trustees. As many of you probably know, we didn't actually have to have an election this year because we didn't have any contested races. We're delighted to have Rick Tullis and Pam Watts continue as incumbents, and we've got a new Mr. Green to be sworn in tonight. Carolyn, the floor is yours.
like. In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas. You're reciting, you're reciting. In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas.
In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas,
I, state your name,
I, Pam Watts,
do solemnly swear or affirm
solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties
that I will faithfully execute the duties
of the office of the Midway ISD Board of Trustees.
of the Midway ISD Board of
the
Trustees. You need to go slower.
Of the state of Texas.
Of the state of Texas,
And will do the best of my ability
and will do the best of my ability
to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution
to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution
and laws of the United States
and laws of the United States
and of this state.
and of this state,
So help me God.
so help me God.
That's it. Y'all are done.
Mr. Green, you want to introduce some folks?
Sure. With me tonight are two of my three children. Lindsay Green, she's a fourth grader at Woodway Elementary. Tyler Green is a first grade at Woodway Elementary. And also here is my wife, Allison Green, who is the outgoing PTA president at Woodway Elementary. And my parents, Judy Green, and longtime board member, Ivan Green.
Thank y'all for allowing him to serve. Takes up time, we know that. Yeah, you should get a picture with your family
Come on, picture.
They're here.
while they're here.
They're all cleaned up. They look great.
I'd like to see the Greens by their placard. I would like a sentimental picture. That seat over the years, and we expect that to continue.
All right, and then, under the law and according to our board policy, we are required to reorganize the officers on the board after an election. And accordingly then, I'll open the floor for nominations for the office of president.
Pete Russick.
I second that nomination.
Nominations require no second, Mr. Tullis, but that's okay.
And that's why I will never be president.
No, all kidding aside. Any other nominations? If not, I'm going to close the nominations. And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. That nomination carries. You don't have to have a motion when you do nominations. That's just Robert's Rules of Order.
Everybody knows
Newly
that.
revised. Everybody knows that, yeah. We'll then open the floor for nominations for the office of vice president.
Nominate Ms. Fick.
Any other nominations? If not, we'll close nominations, and all in favor of Ms. Vick, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Congratulations, Ms. Vick. Thank you. And open the floor finally for the office of secretary, and I'm going to nominate Ms. Watts.
Make the paperwork easier on Carolyn Wynn, not having to change signatures.
True,
Yeah.
true. Any other nominations for secretary? Hearing none, I will close nominations, and all in favor of Ms. Watts, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ms. Watts, thank you for your willingness to serve. Indeed. No information items, presentation, discussion items, the first one of which is our monthly finance report. Wesley.
Good evening, members of the board. We'll take a look at our April financial report. On page 10 of the report, you'll see we have our fifth 6 weeks average daily attendance numbers. And the fifth 6 weeks was better than the fourth, fortunately. We were at 7,851. There we go. It's kind of lagging behind there. On the last page of the report, page 13, you'll see the projection of the general fund. And that includes the hold harmless ADA, which the state provided for us for the first 6 weeks. The hold harmless ADA is about 100 ADA higher than our actual ADA. And so that yields about $750,000 more in state revenue. And that's included in this projection of a $2.9 million deficit for the year. That also... I'm on the last page now. Whatever number that is, it's the last one. It should be page 13 of the financial report. Well, on the last page, right, is the projection in the general fund for the year, and that includes the hold harmless ADA, and that yields us $750,000 more than if we just use our actual ADA for the year. And so we're looking at $2.9 million deficit projection to finish the fiscal year, and that includes all budget amendments that we've adopted year to date. Minus the budget amendments, really about what we adopted, about a little less than 2 million.
Of the 2.9 million, remember about 1.8 was partially for the turf. Approved for baseball, softball, and the other was the scoreboard, as you remember, last month, but will be reimbursed over a number of years with advertising revenue. But that, you subtract the 1.8 or so, then you see the decline of the initially adopted budget of 1.8 million is now around 1.1, because those were one-time expenditures.
And then all budget requests from campuses and departments for next year, fiscal year 2023, have been submitted. We're reviewing those for accuracy, and in June at our next board meeting, we'll have the budget workshop to look in depth at the 2023 general fund budget. Any questions?
For the attendance,
Thank you, Wesley. We'll move on to bond construction update. Buddy.
Good evening, Mr. Russick, board members, Dr. Kazanis. I have a PowerPoint, but I'll just use Wesley's PowerPoint. I'm just kidding. Yeah. The CTE edition, it's nearing completion. If you go over there, it looks great. We're going to punch list a few rooms on Thursday after the OAC meeting to get them ready to move some stuff in from the high school, so that, because that project's now moving towards focusing on what we're going to do this summer in the high school, which is the culinary arts kitchen. I'm sure I didn't use the right word on that. Bistro bar or something. And in the library, so that they're polishing the terrazzo and the CTE part, so it's, the handrails are up, the glass handrails, it all looks great. At River Valley, things are going as scheduled there. A lot of the classrooms are finished, and the doors are locked on those rooms since they're finished. So things look good there. We should be substantially completed sometime this month there, except for the work that will go on this summer inside the current building, where they'll have to do the tie-in and then the work in the cafeteria. But they're doing some work in the orchestra room. That'll be hit heavy this summer. And one of the special ed rooms, where one of the hallways will now go through it, tying into the new part. So that'll all, getting ready to do that. We thought we would have grass on the football field by last week, but what we're being told is because we don't have enough rain, that the grass farms don't have enough grass that is mature enough for us to buy to put on the field as sod. So there is no grass on the football field yet, and there should have been. The ITC building, Jesse's group has moved in. The only thing we don't have moved are the servers into the server room. We're planning on doing that. I say we, but it's Jesse and his crew. Is planning on doing that over Memorial Day weekend. We still don't have the air conditioning units for the server room. They're supposed to arrive at the end of the month. So we've put in temporary air conditioning, and we're working the bugs out right now for that temporary air conditioning. So we're thinking by the end of tomorrow, we'll know for sure that that's going to work, and that we'll get to move over Memorial Day weekend. That's the plan right now. Park Hill is progressing nicely. Painting is happening inside. All the tile is finished. As of this Thursday, they'll do one more concrete pour outside, and all of the concrete will be finished outside. The sidewalk will be built this summer. The plans for that have been approved. They've been sent to the city, and the contractor is working on getting pricing to finalize that, but to put that sidewalk finished before school opens. And the school will open at the beginning of the school year.
Confidence, or?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
If we can get the,
Yeah, is that a question?
if we can get the MEP contractor on board, we're gonna open it. Sorry, I just had to put that in there. Park Hill, Chapel Park, that was Park Hill. Chapel Park, things are going good there. If you drive by, you'll see they've started on the playground area in the back and the playground area in the front. And that's one of the things that we have changed, is the playgrounds. After further discussions, all of our playgrounds are 100% accessible. But that doesn't mean that they're 100% inclusive, which means you have special needs kids that can play things, and there's toys and equipment for them to use and play on. And so we're going to add some spinners, is what they're called. I would call them merry-go-rounds, that the wheelchairs can actually roll up on and lock in place. And then we're going to add some swings where a wheelchair kid can transfer over into the swing. And there's a cost associated with that, and that's one of the items on your consent agenda. But we just thought this would be a good point, since we're doing new construction, to up our standard, and as we move forward, to try to let this be our standard, to have the playgrounds be more inclusive. And so we had a different playground vendor at Park Hill, and so we've started the process with that vendor, and hope to have you some numbers in June, so that we can add this similar equipment to make the playgrounds at Park Hill also more inclusive.
In place to audit all of our existing elementary school playgrounds and, do the same thing at those campuses as well? I mean, not necessarily for this summer, but you're right, over
We
time.
had one audited and I guess reviewed at Woodway Elementary School already, so I have that one. Each one, though, would just to be determined on what we have availability of district funds to do, or if there are any bond proceeds, because they're very expensive. The one, just real quickly about Woodway Elementary, really would be, for a better word, start all over. It's just impossible to renovate it, to do what Mr. Freeman is talking about now, and so it would be a complete overhaul. or you leave it and just build additional playgrounds. And so budgets on these two playgrounds, I believe, are around a couple $100,000
Yes.
or more. So they're not inexpensive endeavors for each one.
And it's the PTAs of those schools that raise
Yes,
money, and
but
that's a
I-
little more than.
That's a little
I
more
think
than
we
they.
should be expecting from them.
That's not exactly, it's too much money to ask to raise. So
Yeah.
we've been-
It'd be good just maybe have a long-range plan of how we're gonna bring everyone
Yeah.
up to the same standard.
Yeah, it's,
Across.
Hewitt started it, and again, with Hewitt Elementary and their PTA and their new playgrounds, but started there, and of course, as Buddy said, with these two brand-new schools.
And
But we'll
so-
look at them, we have been, as I said, we have the example we have from Woodway.
We don't have an official plan to do that, but like
Right.
he said, we've already had Woodways looked at. And you know, people as well as I do, that as we up our standards, we're going to have requests on other campuses. I mean, we
Yeah.
know that's coming.
Yeah.
And so at some point, I'm sure you as a board will be asked to help contribute to that.
Yep. Well, get us the information, and then we can.
All of those. I know you talked about Park Hill as a different vendor right now, but I don't know if that's something you're looking at down the road.
No, I like,
Well, or that.
yeah.
One at a
Well,
time.
there's, you know, I won't get into the politics of that. There is some
Require
politics involved in that.
But I mean, if we bid them all out, is what I'm saying.
Right,
Rather
one
than at a
time. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I mean.
Yeah, volume, yeah. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to get
Okay.
stuck on that. Keep going.
Middle school, the guaranteed maximum price for Phase 2 of the middle school is on there. And also, I forgot, I'm sorry, I apologize, I didn't introduce our visitors, but they're here because we're doing the guaranteed maximum price for the middle school. With Masonic Construction, we have Mr. Sam Blunt, who is an estimator, and we have Mr. Jonathan Kazanis, who will be the project manager on this middle school. He's very excited about that. We also have Stephen Hafer, you know Stephen, with Huckabee. And Stephen put together some numbers, and I thought I would just share with you a few highlights from his numbers. Because the budget, if you put Phase 1 and Phase 2 together of the middle school, comes out to $15,422. We'll ask you to remember that $2 million of that is for HVAC units. And so you could take that off of the construction side of it, because that's going to come out of the maintenance part of the bond that we passed. We passed some for roofs and HVAC. And so $2 million would come off of that. So if you did that, you'd be at $13,400. And the budget on this was $11,100 after we whittled down the bond issue to start with. When the committee was asking for $177 million, the budget for the middle school was at $14,800. So it's not off as far as we thought it would be. And luckily, we did have really good timing on some of the other projects, and most of them are going to come in under budget. The renovations of Woodgate and the middle school are not going to come in under budget. We know that. But it's not as bad as it may look initially. So I just wanted to point those out.
It's out to us. I mean, if we approve this tonight, will we have a good sense of that?
I'll let,
I know we're still under.
All of our projects with the Career Tech Center in River Valley, as Buddy mentioned here, with the substantial completion of those in May, coming up in June, we should have what's called buyouts and understand what's coming back to the district, plus in addition to any contingency funds coming back. But that has not been used or considered for this GMP for Phase 1 and 2 of Midway Middle School. And so that's budgeted, and I think Wesley ran maybe a number of, still in the positive, $2 to $3 million, I believe, of our total bond projects.
You have the middle school's done.
Putting this number
Right,
in.
in
that-
there, yeah, we'll still have.
to answer your question, there are a lot of anxious people that want to see that number, but the closeout process takes some time. Huckabee has a closeout process that they will guide the construction manager through, and we won't release retainage, and we won't know the final buyouts and all that until all those closeout items are checked off the list. So we're still a little ways away from knowing that, but there's a lot of anxious people that want to know that number, and so we'll get to you as quickly as we can. The Spring Valley driveway project continues. If they have the curb built on the back driveway, and the back driveway has all the base down, and it's ready for asphalt. The interchange between Angel Fire and the back driveway, that's all done. They've started on the front part of the driveway, and they have the curb built around, and they're fixing to start on the base for that. So Barnett Construction is doing that. Barnett is also going to be the ones that build the sidewalk. So they asked me last week, so because we're also doing driveway work at Hewitt. They said, when can we start at Hewitt? I said, well, we can't start at Hewitt until school's out, but you can start on that sidewalk today.
Our project is already included in the numbers I just mentioned also. This is coming out of the, again, general maintenance bond that we had as part of the bond package. And so this was not in the original, the Spring Valley, but it was certainly sorely needed in the Hewitt Drive as well. So that's already accounted for.
Maybe for our June meeting, understanding is what Buddy just said about final wrap-up, buyout, retainage, and all that. But I know we've had previously, and it doesn't have to be a detailed one, but just sort of a projection for our June construction update about where we estimate that it is at that time, just so the board can have an idea.
I think we could get pretty close at that point.
I mean, we're going to hold anybody's feet to the fire on, but just something that gives us a ballpark, recognizing it could go up or down from that.
Because we should be nearing the end of needing to use contingency money on different things. I mean, there's always something that pops up that you didn't know about. We had some stuff at Woodgate or Chapel Park that popped up just in the last couple of weeks. When we went to do the playground work, we found out there was an electrical line feeding the parking lot and a water line that was going under there. Well, we had to move those. So there still may be some contingency items that pop up that we don't know about, but as we're nearing the end of the project, we should be getting close on all of those.
Buddy, for all your leadership and eye to detail for all this, because you've done a tremendous job.
Thank you, I appreciate that, but
Managing
I
all
promise
the
you it's a team effort.
I know, and your team as well.
Thank
We
you
appreciate
for
it.
touring, taking time off to tour Mrs. Vick and I at River Valley last week. That's the first time, or 2 weeks ago, the first time I'd been through it. And it's one thing to walk into a completed building and appreciate that everything looks nice. It's another thing to see how much detail and effort and, conscientious approach it takes from so many people. I mean, my two favorites there were the new gym floor. It was like a mirror. You could see your face, and it was gorgeous. And that we're going to have welding at the middle school. We have space for more CTE, which is exciting. And wanted to commend Mr. Knoyer and his team and New Chapel Park PTA for the block party out at the renovated Chapel Park. I saw some great looking pictures, and looks like they're putting all that space to good use as fast as they can. Looks like it was a lot of fun.
For a few minutes, just enough time to get a snow cone, but walking through the school to get there was really something to see how that's coming together. It's really nice.
Starting, I mean, to me now it really feels like a middle school
Right.
with the track out there and the goalpost, and feels like it's all grown up. So
Yeah.
it's a different vibe.
Everything looks really nice, and I thank you for approving us to do all of it. It's been fun. The voters, yes, that's correct.
Yes. All right, any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, buddy. Child nutrition update. There he is, back at the back. Rudy. And well.
Awesome. How's everybody doing tonight? Thank you for having me. I'm here to speak on the Airmark Client Business Review. So just going over a few things, our leadership team, state of the business, operational objectives, and financials and projections. So our current leadership team, me, Rudy Fred, the food service director, we have Tomas as our assistant director, Jacqueline, our registered dietitian, and Logan Moore, our district chef. As we navigated through the beginning of the school year, we have been serving free meals all year for our staff. Well, not our staff, our students. For our students. So we have been able to feed free meals for our students, but also at a higher SFSP meal rate that has got implemented about September of this year. TDA has recently just came out with the free and reduced application, so the anticipation is to go back to pay free and reduced next year. So we really just have to amp up trying to get it out to the community and the parents and things of that sort. As we all seen going to the grocery store, just everywhere else, just as we have dealt with it as well, supply chain issues. But what we've really done is really just creating new menu options, getting with our purveyors and providing new products and trying to be as transparent with all of our changes. So you said since last year, what was next that we've had that we really tried to highlight? So over the summer, it was really looking at those three boxes right there: focus menus, communication, district, and community presence. So just to highlight focus menu, talked to all the principals over the summer, and we created just 2 menu options for elementary, focusing on their favorites. Breakfast for lunch at every grade. So at high school, we did like more of like a breakfast hash for high school kids, and barbecue smoker options that we piloted at the high school, which some of you probably have tried at Shack and some other places. Communication, ongoing manager communication. We try to be as transparent as possible. Visibility to ensure procedures are upheld, and like I talked about, product shortages and menu changes. And then we talked about district and community presence, food demos, pop-up lines at the high school, the Airmark Chef Competition. We've helped out do some Skills USA judging at TSTC, and also being on social media. And we talked about what's ahead. So we have summer meals coming up starting June 1st, movement of managers and hiring of new assistant managers, manager trainings at Region 12, and also implementing fingerprint scanners at the elementary service lines. This is to really get into speed of service, something that's really, that could help us identify like students that have dietary issues and things of that sort. So we're gonna go away from the meal cards that we currently do and switch over to the system. It actually uses your points on your finger, so it doesn't store any data or anything. And we've actually tried about 2 or 3 companies. We started this probably in September, and we feel like it's gonna be a great product. 2 other local districts actually been using it for the last 5+ years, so.
Kind of
No, ma'am.
database, you say is erased?
No, ma'am. And we
It's not
actually
like your
did
thumbprint.
a proof of concept with this company as well. It was probably about 2 months ago. We tried it out, and then we tried out another company because it was lower in price. But this one, the speed of service, I mean, just the communication from the company, just everything. It's the right product for us, and I back it completely.
Nervous to, have the kids have a fingerprint on file somewhere. So.
Exactly. And what we plan on doing is once we, back to school stuff, we have a communication that's already ready to be sent out to the parents. Because what we want to do is, as some of those back to school stuff, actually create a sign-in little station to where we could start getting kids early on into the system. And we have communications that we could give to the parents, letting them know what it entails and stuff like that.
Now, if a parent doesn't want their child to do that, can they still have a card?
Well, it can have a card, and that's what we already anticipated. We're thinking about 5 to 10% at each campus, and just starting at elementaries that some of the parents aren't going to want to participate in it.
Right.
And our managers, they're great. They'll remember those kids right off the bat. So it could be first couple weeks we have a card, but then they'll just remember them. So we do have a system in place just in case the parents don't want to get them enrolled.
Okay. And then about your meal changes this year, did the high school kids like the breakfast?
Yes.
At lunch, was that?
Actually, our home zone, which on a normal year has really been, it's kind of, a lot of kids go towards the grill and the nacho line, but it's really our home zone has been the one that has been pushing all the meals. And it's been awesome to see. So a lot of the kids are actually eating more scratch cooked products that we have on our home zone line. And that's really one of the options. We do that at high school and middle school.
Oh.
Because, I mean, I cook at home. My kids love breakfast and lunch.
Yeah.
I know they're
Oh,
4
yeah.
and 2, but it's like we have to figure out something for the upper grades, and it's been an awesome thing to see. So,
And did the smoker go over well at the high school? Are you going to bring both of those back for next year?
yes, so we piloted just for this year. So the smoker is here to stay. It's not going anywhere, trust me. And the biggest thing is whenever we talked about it, the electric smoker, we could use it for the students plus for caterings. So we have 2 chambers, so we can actually cook a lot of things in there. So it's a real good sight to see. And it cold smokes, so it does a lot of different things that we can operate with. So
So it's electric.
yes, ma'am.
That's cool.
Yes, ma'am. So as we go into innovation,
It is the most picky eater I know at the high school, and she says every time she sees the pop-up line, she goes there because she doesn't know what it is, but she knows it's going to be good.
I mean that's one of the reasons why we're on social media, because like the kids know whenever they see Chef Logan on that line, they just go to it. They're like, so they see it on online beforehand. We have the signage up on the menu board, and some of the kids, they just go straight to the line. They remember it. No, so we
If they like
designated-
it so much, can we not do it every day?
So
or-
it is something that we're looking at for next year, is that, we have a dedicated line for it. I know next year a lot of the lines and stuff are going to change at the high school, so it'll really be how do we implement it every day or at least once a week.
Yeah, twice. If they're eating homemade, scratch. Yeah.
That's true. Whatever we could do for the
That's
kids, we'll
right.
do it. So
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome. So whenever we go on innovation, we have limited time offers. We have district special events that we do. Like we just try to be transparent with everything that we do. A promotion, a district event that just happened last week, our Lunch Hero Day. Just trying to highlight what our staff does every single day is just what we want to do. Some of the options, like you can see, like that barbecue, that's the beef that we did on a baked potato. Right in the middle, that's the pork loin that we did 2 weeks ago at the high school that the students were able to get. So it's a lot of things that we're really trying to innovate and be better at with. Like we have limitations, but hey, we're trying to break those barriers, right? So, and a lot of happy kids. Student experience. So how do we get this feedback? Aramark, we do a viewpoint survey that actually came out about 2 months ago. So we use this data to actually figure out what the kids, what they're leaning to, what's their favorites, and we take that data and compile it and, try to be better for the next year. And with that, like I said, keeping connected with our community. We really talked about over the summer is at least posting once or twice a week. And we have a lot of parents that go on there, like the pictures, comment, ask questions. So it's a true joy to get that connection with, parents in the community that we haven't had before. Team engagement and collaborations. So boosting team morale. I mean, everybody knows the last couple of years has been really hard. So we really highlighted what can we do for our staff coming back from a hard couple of years. So we started, it's called Service Star. So we do it every month for our employees, and then we do a manager of the quarter every quarter for our managers. So 10 employees get picked over the year, and then 4 managers. And it's exciting. I know I partnered with Woodgate, with Wes. We've done something in the cafeteria that was awesome. With Velia at Spiegelville, we've done something over there. It's just an awesome sight to see because it's really anonymous. They don't know what's going on. It's just we show up, we do it in the cafeteria time, and they get a lot excited. I mean, the kids love what they do every day. And then also just doing other stuff like we had our staff appreciation where we brought out Zookies. We did like a taco station for them and just different retirements and other things that we try to do for our staff. And this is our food service team. Over 60 employees. I mean, they work really hard. I appreciate everything that they do. And I mean, I'm such honored to just be the director of this wonderful group of people. Continuing collaboration with you and your students. Every month, sit down with Wesley. We talk about finances, meals, things of that sort. Next year, we're looking at the client business review, seeing what can we advance on that we're currently doing now to make better for next year. Like I said, social media presence, continue innovating ideas, and consistent district collaborations, which we want to do more next year. So we talk about finances. So I mean, the biggest thing you can look on here is prior year meals, current year meals. So if you look at prior year meals, I mean, we're talking about last year we were doing curbside, we were doing 0 to 18, anybody in community could eat. We were getting meals however we could get it. current year meals is just meals from students only. So it's really, just because the meals are free doesn't mean the students are going to eat. So it's really about innovating. It was really about how can we get the kids to eat? What things can we do better at? So you see the jump in meals, the variance over 160K from last year. And then prior year and current year daily meals. And then you can see the reimbursement change, increase in meal participation, like I talked about, supply issues and shortages. And the biggest thing to highlight on here is the daily participation. Daily participation is the meals per service day divided by enrollment. So if you think about like breakfast, we're over 4% from last year. Lunch, over 13% from last year. And equivalent, which is all of our catering, snacks, things of that, so we're over 2%. So we've seen an increase on every level of what we do as a food service operation. And that data for this school year is just based off of April. So that's nothing in this month or what we're going to do for summer as well. So we're really trending in the right direction. Any questions?
Thank you to all your staff. I mean, the cafeteria ladies, everyone in the cafeteria, they're so important to all the kids.
Oh,
and
yes.
the parents. So I like the social media so the families and the parents can get to know the people that feed their kids and take care of the kids in the cafeteria.
Oh, yes.
Y'all do a great job.
Thank you.
Thanks for that.
This information instead of yummy dinner.
Good one, Pam.
But you did just as well doing that as you do cooking up wonderful,
Thank
wonderful
you. Thank
food.
you. Hey, I do what I can for the district, so
Well,
hey, it's
You did a
great to be
great job
here.
in your new roles.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank y'all.
And next up, School Health Advisory Council Report, AKA the Shack.
Good evening. Okay, so, I do want to say this really quickly. Rudy and his team did the catering for our shacks this year, so they fed us lunch each time, and it was delicious, and everybody that came was so appreciative. They make a salad that's better than anything I've had anywhere else, so they do a great job, and we were really appreciative of them. So, as a requirement for Shack, we are asked to do an annual report, and so just give an update on what Shack has done for the year. And so I can either see you or see my paper. So I'm going to go with my notes. So Shack this year, just a picture of our Shack wheel. Our representation that's up there, we try really hard to make sure that our Shack committee is made up of people that represent those areas that we'll be discussing throughout the year. So all of those things you see up there, health, physical education, food services, we bring in so many things when we're looking at school health and wellness. And so there's all of our representation up there, of all the people that are involved. And about 50%, a little over that, of our membership of Shack is parent involvement. So we're really grateful for that too. I have the thing. There were some new legislative requirements for Shack this year. So in our October meeting, we spent a little bit of time going through the new requirements. And so it just has to do with posting our notices. So we do that ahead of time for our meetings, recording our Shack meetings now, and then after meetings, we post minutes, our agenda, all of that's posted on our Shack website. So we're in compliance with all of that. Some of the agenda items, and I know you have more information in your board packet that goes into detail, but just some highlights of some things that we covered this year through Shack. Again, just like our committee representation, it covers all those areas in the Shack wheel. We try to do the same thing with all of our agenda items. We go through and try to hit on each of those areas so that we're covering those throughout the year. We also look at campus data, feedback from staff, parents, and things that we want to cover, those important topics throughout the year as well. So you can see some of those highlighted areas up there. The picture is a group that came from the high school. That was a Ready, Set, Teach class, and those students did a presentation at the high school for staff on staff wellness. And so I saw that promoted on Facebook from the high school, and we asked that they come and present on that. And so that was really fun to see them come do that. So those are some of the things. One of the biggest things, and I didn't want to dismiss anything else that's up there because we have so many things that we cover that are really important throughout the year and we talk about. But one of the big things that we started at the very beginning of the year is we knew that there were going to be changes to the health TEKS. And because of the changes to the health TEKS, that meant that we needed to review our current sex education curriculum. So we really have spent about 9 months as the SHAC committee reviewing that and looking at all the options that are out there. And so that's something that was really important for us to work on this year as well. So our goals and recommendations, these are all just goals that we've set for the SHAC to continue going forward. All of the things that we've been working on, and I know many of you have been a part of our SHAC as well on the board, we want to continue to do. So we want to continue to build those community supports. We developed 3 more memorandums of understandings with community agencies this year, and that's something that we want to continue to do, is to build upon those community resources. So that's really important to SHAC. Mental, physical wellness, our VIP nights where we give so much information for parents and students. Those are all things that we're going to continue to work towards and to continue to build. Our character strong, in line with the Texas character traits. Again, just more implementation of that on all of our campuses. So those are some of the things that we'll continue to work on and promote as we go forward. The last thing on here, and this is the only thing that is a consent item that will require the board to make a decision on and to adopt, is the recommendation from the SHAC on the sex health education curriculum. And so what I wanted to say really quickly is that we have had a curriculum in place for years. That's the Living Well Aware, and we could have just stayed with that. But since the TEKS were changing, and it's the first time in 20 years that the health TEKS have been updated, we decided this is a good time to review that. And we wanted to know, is Living Well Aware going to be updated to match those new health TEKS? And if not, then what are some of our other options? So some of our SHAC members, we attended the training with Living Well Aware, found out that it was only going to update the 6th grade curriculum, and so that did not work for us. We needed something that was going to be for other grade levels as well and to match those new TEKS. So then we went with the Texas approval list of curriculums that were there and just started narrowing it down. What matches the things that we need versus the students that we would be teaching that to, et cetera, and went through that process. So we talked about all of the different options that were out there and reviewed that. Another thing with House Bill 1525 that was there with what the SHAC had to do for all of those new policies was also about what the board needed to do for the timeline and adoption of the new curriculum. And all those things, you can see the dates. It's just kind of the timeline of what we've done and what that looks like, and then where we are tonight with the SHAC's recommendation to the board. So again, I've already talked about the new health TEKS, so that's what prompted us to review the current curriculum that's in place. One of the big changes with the House Bill 1525 is that now the sex education curriculum is an opt-in, not an opt-out. So before, we may have 3 students at the middle school that a parent would say we would like to opt out of the curriculum or the instruction. And so now it's an opt-in. So we did that this year. This was the first year that there was an opt-in. Information went out to all the middle school parents for the opt-in. They had a Google form with the information where they could review the curriculum. There were about 120-something students that did not have an opt-in. After the first day of instruction, then that dropped to about 20 because all of those kids were like, oh, that was just my mom need to sign that, then let me get that done. And so then it became a much smaller number after that. So it is a little bit more difficult for schools. It's hard to get permission slips back, and so we're going to look at ways to make sure that we really promote that and get that information out there so parents know exactly what they're opting in for or opting out, whatever they choose. And then also another change, Senate Bill 9 later said that with that opt-in also now includes any information, or not information, but education about child abuse, family violence, dating violence, and sex trafficking. So that's been a concern for a lot of educators in the state, because we know it would be really difficult to have a parent sign off and say, I'm going to opt in and give permission if a parent's abusing a child, for there to be education about that. So that's something that's been a little bit of a concern. One of the things that we found out is that if it's included within your sex education curriculum, then you can do an opt-in for all those topics together. And our recommendation for the Choosing the Best curriculum does include all of that. So that would be great, because we can get an opt-in, and we would explain that in the opt-in letter, but it would encompass all of that together. Oh, that's it. Okay, so then the Choosing the Best. So we did look at some different options that were out there. We talked to other districts. We looked to see what everybody else was doing, and then the decisions based on where and when we teach it and to what grade levels. Currently, we offer the Living Well Aware curriculum, and it's taught to the 8th graders in Panther Pathways and the AVID classes. And then it's taught to the high school students through the Lifetime Nutrition and Wellness. So what we talked about with SHAC together is that we would like to see this move to the 7th grade. What we really loved about Choosing the Best, and everybody was in agreement with this, is that a lot of the curriculums only have one option. And so anytime you want to do that, if you're going to teach it at middle school and then again at high school, they get the exact same curriculum. We appreciated that Choosing the Best has something different for every grade level that's age appropriate for that grade. So that was one of the reasons that we like that. We also met with the teachers that teach all of this content, and they requested that we look at something else that would allow online content that was constantly updated, and up to medically accurate information, that it was easy to access, and Choosing the Best met that for them as well. We also liked that it was tied to character traits. So just like we have the Character Strong that we implement, this tied in with character traits as well. And so we appreciated that too. So lots of conversations about respect, about healthy choices, about healthy relationships, all that's included as well. It's medically accurate, and it follows what the Texas requirement is for sexual health education, is that it be an abstinence plus or abstinence-based program, and this one is that as well. So all that to say, this is SHAC's recommendation that we would like the board to consider adopting, and this is the Choosing the Best curriculum. And again, we would like it to be taught at the 7th grade. We've talked with the science curriculum team, and they said that they believe that this would be something that could be done through the science classes, and then we would keep it at the high school level through the Lifetime Nutrition and Wellness. Good. Any questions?
I was going to ask you about the grades. What is the reasoning that we're not dropping it down to 6th grade and starting it at 6th grade, since this program can actually be taught in 6th grade?
You could. I mean, really, you absolutely could. There is a 6th grade curriculum, and it goes all the way through. Do
you remember why y'all decided not to go to 6th grade?
No, I don't know that we really said, other than, I guess when we were looking with the changing of the campuses and, the 6th grade coming in, I think that's where there were just conversations about, we knew that it needed to be moved down from 8th grade, and we used that from our human monitoring reports, looking at emails, our Stop It app reports, all of those things. We felt like we needed to get this information to them earlier. And so we just reviewed really what the 7th grade was going to offer. But, there is 6th grade.
And the 7th grade science, Ms. Zellers mentioned, is life science.
It is life
so
science,
that
yes.
fits in their curriculum better as
So
well.
that's what I was wondering, where would you put it in 6th grade, a time issue? I just think it might be something worth thinking about in the future.
Yeah.
It's my personal
And
opinion.
that is the beauty of this, is that there is a curriculum for every grade level. And so there were some that said, what if we did it every year? What if we found a way to, there is a cost associated with that, of course, too. But, that's something that we appreciated, that we could grow with it. If we decided after we did 7th grade, then next year let's add 6th grade, then we could do that.
Looked over all the videos with the curriculum, and it is very well-rounded. I thought it was really grounded, good program, covered everything in a very intelligent, smart, you know, not impersonal, but a way that would make the kids comfortable from what I read and saw. So I think it's
Yeah, I think so too.
Pieces of it too. One of my questions from a process standpoint is if we're doing it in 8th grade now and we move to 7th grade next year, there's a year that gets skipped in there, right? You have current 7th graders going to 8th that aren't going to see the curriculum. Is there a concern about that?
Well, then they'll get it in 9th.
I know they'll get it in
grade, I
high
guess.
school at some point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And, you know, I mean, it could be something that we do some stuff through guidance lessons too. I mean, it may not be the whole thing, but it could even be that they do like a once a month thing too. I mean, to consider with that group. So that's definitely something. We did talk about that. It
That
is.
grade missing.
Yeah.
And maybe in the Panther pathway, maybe that would be a great spot.
because I thought it meant we were going to start with 7th and then every grade above that would get it. But you're saying 8th grade is not going to have it
Because that's
next
where
year.
it currently is.
Yeah,
So
we
it's-
would do 7th grade and then 9th or 10th grade, depending on when they take that lifetime nutrition.
Because they're already having it
Yeah,
this.
but that's true. You can look at that for the 8th grade,
Okay. Yeah,
incoming 8th grade.
incoming 8th graders need it. Yeah. That's
they-
why I
'cause they
thought
would
we would
miss
do
it.
it every year, right? Yeah.
We did talk
Good
about
catch,
that.
yeah.
We did
Well, I thought she meant they would
No,
get it. See, I
no.
didn't read it right. I thought we were going to start at 7th,
For
but
an
every grade
additional
would have it.
$3,000, we can do, there is a cost. But it is something, like I said, we could definitely do something through, and they already have the Panther Pathways and Avid where they're doing now, so we could still do something.
I think we definitely need.
Catch those kids.
And the only other thing I want to say is we did want to continue our partnerships with Unbound because they help us with the trafficking information, the most up-to-date information. They have great resources. They came and presented to SHAC. They've been presenting in the school before. And then also our partnership with Dr. Sue Battle because she does those good, healthy, safe relationships with students too. So she's been busy. She's been busy everywhere.
That's true.
I sat in the back of the room during at Councilman Creek for one of her presentations. I think it was to 4th graders, and she was fantastic. It was really good and good for that age kids. I think it was really good. I really just wanted to say, because I looked through this, I also looked through the materials that are on our consent agenda with sort of the detailed agendas and everything that you guys put together, and I really appreciate that. I know there were some parents that showed up to that first SHAC public meeting that weren't even part of the SHAC and didn't sort of know what they were doing, the way you guys sort of brought them into the process and let them review and be part of it. So I think I really want to commend you on the way you included parents in the process, because it could be a pretty contentious issue, right, for some, and the fact that you said that was important to bring parents in. And the one thing I'll say about that I mentioned at the time too is, if we do this again, could we try to have one of those meetings be outside of work hours so that more working parents could either attend or at least they would know they have the opportunity.
Yeah, and we talked about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Yes.
You mentioned that, obviously you have to opt in now. Is it an all or nothing? Or can parents opt into certain aspects of the curriculum without others? Or how would that work? In case
That's a good question. I haven't seen anybody ask that. So, yeah, that's a good question. Because there's not, I guess when you send the opt-in, it will have all the different lessons that are covered. So I guess maybe somebody could say they don't want to do lesson 7. So on that day, yeah. But I'll look into that because that's a good question. It's good to think about.
Form, or that's, I don't know, people could write something in.
Well, how would that
Might be hard to track, like who's,
run
that's
you
what I'm
aground?
thinking.
Yeah.
That's true.
They also have the opt-in include the sex ed curriculum, plus the child abuse, family violence, dating violence, sex trafficking, all of that be one, or do you have to
It'll
do
be one
separate?
opt-in form. We'll list all of it. Like
Okay.
this curriculum includes, and it will list every lesson, so all 8 lessons defined, and then it will say as well as
Those.
information about trafficking. Yeah, all of that's included, and then they can opt in. Yeah. So, and we did, like I said, we looked at that because we were thinking, oh my goodness, and now then we'll have to do another opt-in. But once we found out if it's included in the sex education curriculum, then you could include that in your letter for opt-in. So, and I really do want to say thank you to our SHAC too, because they really were so great. I'm one person of, nearly 30 people that have invested their lunch hours and time to be here. And some of them, jumped on at work to get onto webinars so that they could view curriculums and be there for trainings. And so I really appreciate all of our SHAC for their time they invested this year.
We do too, so thank you.
All right,
Thank
thank
you,
y'all.
team. That's a lot of community support and volunteer hours and staff time. I'll do a great job.
Thank y'all, appreciate it.
Follow up on the Gifted and Talented Annual Report.
As they come up, Tracy Marlin is going to kick off our follow-up to last month's meeting because we did launch a thought exchange to get more ideas and thoughts and input about overall Midway's program and Gifted and Talented. So, Ms. Marlin, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate being brought into this conversation. I believe passionately about communication and the tools we have and how important it is to listen to our audiences. So we asked our audiences about this. We said, what are the most valuable components of Midway's Gifted and Talented services? If you'll remember, there were actually multiple components of everything changing, with elementary doubling in size of the number of students being served, 5th grade being at elementary, having 8 elementaries, and changes the middle school program. So we asked about all of these components that are changing. We had 272 participants share 249 thoughts and a lot of ratings. So that is wonderful, though, because that's what adds validity to a thought exchange. So our participation, we had a breakdown between if they were a parent or an educator answering, and which campuses they would be at for next year as a parent or an educator. So we could make sure that we had really well-rounded participation. We broke down that participation by parent and educators for everybody, and we were prepared to reach out and say, will you please help, will you please help? We want to make sure that everybody's represented, but we did not have to. We had great, well-rounded participation. Overall, when you look at the words that come through an exchange like this, we have a lot of agreement, a lot of support, and a lot of things that everybody really says, this is what we're doing and this is why. Most of it centered around that curriculum: engaged, creative, critical thinking, challenging, words that we also have in our portrait of a graduate, and things that we want to support our education that we're providing at all levels for kids. The key thoughts, these are the top overall ranked thoughts for the entire exchange. So this is everybody participating, the overall thoughts that rose to the highest with the number of star ratings. So you'll see that actually leading the way was the 5th grade expansion, that was something that was very important to people, the role of GT students, grouping teachers, the role of GT teachers, grouping students, and again, more about the 5th grade, transition times, full day, the amount of time. And it goes on, and there is a link in your board packet as well to all of the thoughts if you wanted to read them from top to bottom, number 1 through 249. The top themes that came out were very consistent for part of this, which is that challenging creativity, critical thinking. And that is wonderful to keep remembering the main thing is the main thing, and that's instruction and education and what we're teaching, and that there was quite a bit of agreement and support in that area. The next theme that rose to the top was pull out grouped collaboration, and then support for GT needs. You can actually read the rest of those. I don't need to read them all to you in order, but we're going to go through them. So I'm going to share with you some of the thoughts and overall themes as we work through these top themes. So with 4 stars and up, the top one was challenging creativity, critical thinking, all supportive of the curriculum itself. And what you'll start seeing here are lots of 5-star ratings and less on the others. As we move down through the other thoughts, you're going to see those start to shift. For number 2, pull out grouped collaboration, 3.7 stars and up, so you'll see the threshold went down just a tiny bit. This, quite often, the words that I saw here were things like-minded students. There was a lot of support for having pull out instruction, grouping students, not all, doing everything through integration in regular classroom, but having kids be together with their GT classmates. Also 3.7 stars and up is support for GT needs. So this actually dove into social emotional learning, which we spend a lot of time talking about for all of our students, But really, this was focusing on what those needs are for GT students. How are they different, or how they might be more specialized for our GT kids than our regular gen ed kids or the other kinds of support we are able to provide. At 3.5 stars and up, so we've lowered the threshold just a little bit again, is fifth grade expansion. So there is still, though, quite a bit of 5 stars on this and not as much differentiation on the other ratings here for the fifth grade time that they'll be receiving. At middle school, GT is also 3.5 stars and up. More than neutral feelings about how the GT situation would go. And if you'll remember, though, in a thought exchange, these are topics that are getting support and ratings, and it's about how valuable they are to our program. So this is referring to the middle school GT program, and then in a moment it also goes into electives. At number 6 was miscellaneous. These were thoughts that were unrelated to other things that people want to rename the program, some things like that. So 3.5 stars and up, this goes back to the middle school electives. So the concern about how many electives students are able to choose in middle school, that was a topic to discuss. And this also gives us insight into where there's misconceptions or information that's missing, because there actually are still middle school electives even for the kids that are going to take GT. So 3.5 stars and up. Now we're talking more about the home campus conversation. So people who would like for the students to stay on campus for instruction, for GT instruction. Number 9, elementary specials, concern about whether specials are going to be able to, students can participate in specials as well. Number 10, still 3.5 and up, is GT teacher support. There's only one comment that rated above 3.5 stars in there. All of these were related to concepts of teacher support on the main campus, GT teachers working with the gen ed teachers and integrating into instruction and support in that way. Number 11 had to do with decisions and planning for how we go about making decisions for the GT program. Number 12, instructional time. There's 2 sub-themes in this one. One is missing instructional time for either transportation or any other thing. The other one is protecting instructional time. During COVID, when we had it on campuses, students were pulled out from their GT classes. So there's references to protecting that time in GT. The last one, with 13, there weren't any 3.5 stars or higher thought. And this is where we started having the off-campus conversation about leaving campus. But I also want to point out something where I have those two purple arrows for you. At this point, the conversation is very polarized. So we get a very neutral star rating because we have people at far ends of the conversation of 1 stars and 5 stars and not much in between at this point. So we're going to break things down further to explore that. The top themes, according to elementary parents, so 111 elementary parents participated. So I just drew a line at 3.5 stars there, that purple line, which I just considered above neutral. And so we're going to say 3 is neutral. This is people who are prioritizing these things above neutral. So again, we're going to have the challenging, the creativity. This time we're going to talk about pull-out and groups collaboration again, support for GT needs, the same things we've already seen. And down at the far end are elementary specials and home campuses and concern about that. You see almost the opposite with the elementary educators. So 65 elementary educators have differences in opinions of the importance of being on a home campus, that integration on campus, and elementary specials, the role of GT teacher support on the campuses. And so those are things we have to work through, those nuances of different viewpoints and lenses. We did the same thing with secondary, so 70 secondary parents still love that curriculum. And of course, higher on their list was middle school electives, middle school GT discussions. And the 20 secondary educators who answered, again, love that curriculum, again, agreed with pullout. And then from there, the numbers start to go down a little bit. And at the far end is middle school GT and middle school electives. So we have to start looking at these differences. And so one thing about Thought Exchange that's so amazing is it has artificial intelligence that can group people by their like-mindedness. We talked about the students' like-mindedness. It can group people by if they rated a whole series of things similarly. And so in this case, we have a side A of 84 people and a side B of 44 people. And they rate things opposite of each other. And side A really liked having services offered on each campus, home campus, and side B said, no way, not home campus. But what I really want to remind everybody is why we're doing things, why we're here, and who we're doing it for. So we have a parent-educator compact that we are all here to support students and support student success. So what our goals are on something like this is to find where we meet in the middle. And in this case, if you look in the middle, what we have in common goes back to that curriculum, that the main thing is a superior, excellent curriculum for our GT students. And we all agree that that is the most valuable piece. Every single subsect of the group agreed with that as well. And then also lots of high ranking for project-based learning for critical thinking. Next, we're looking at another set of differences. This side A and this side B are totally different than the last set we just looked at. That is not the same side A people. This is a new grouping. So side A, 146 people. We're worried about the dedicated time for GT, not having integrated GT time in WIN or something like that. And side B says, let's integrate it. Let's have it be a part of it. And there's 22 people that felt that that could be integrated into other parts of curriculum. Again, looking at the middle, where do we all agree is that increasing GT services for fifth graders is a benefit, and that expanded fifth grade enrichment is going to be really important. So I made recommendations to the curriculum department based off of this information, listening to our community and trying to have insight and clarity into what these discussions are. I'm not expecting all this to be legible right now. All of these are in the full, I see some of y'all squinting, is in the full thought exchange results. But really, the next steps are keeping the main thing the main thing. The top things are prioritizing the valuable instructional qualities. Don't let anything affect that. Number 2, analyze the logistics of the pullout and grouped collaboration. When we got in conversations, what we saw was the value being in pullout, like-minded, being with peers. The value was not in a location. Value was not in a bus. So where can we have pullout groups collaboration that is protected and that the kids can be together with their like-minded peers to meet both their educational and social emotional needs? And then facilitating that support for that SEL. So I think that that's a nuanced thing that obviously we provide SEL, and that is already something people find valuable, but that we were really able to hone in on that conversation was a social need for students to be with and not feel different and to have that support, and that there's areas we can grow there. That is it. That is all I have for you for the thought exchange, and I think Dr. Pena has some additional comments.
Thank you, Ms. Marlin. Hello, board. Dr. Kazanis, President Rusick. So I did want to just kind of go over this slide. It's just one slide, but I hopefully will be able to expound on some of these points. But obviously, we took the comments that some of you made last month to just gain additional information. We feel we have done that. And what we were looking at, the CNI team, was to see is there information that really we missed. Did we get something wrong, and are parents and educators telling us something different? So we were looking for maybe a compelling reason to overturn the committee's original proposal. And we really didn't find that through the thought exchange. As you remember that bubble, it made it clear that we do have people on both sides of the location debate. So what we really wanted to do was focus on, I think Tracy said, those priorities or those big rocks. And so just to, address the elephant in the room, the location is going to remain at what we received from the committee last month, and that's to have the GT continue to pull out for a day a week, but onto the home campuses. And so we're going to make sure we keep the challenging instructional design that we have that helps to challenge students' creative thinking. And we're going to continue to do this through a project-based learning approach. and also incorporating a STREAM approach within that. And STREAM is science, technology, reading, engineering. It grows. Now we've added the reading, engineering, art as well, because sometimes we can integrate art, and then obviously math as well. So that's going to continue. We're going to work on building that up as well. We're going to continue to consult with experts in the field. That is one area where we have a strength with our GT specialist team. I consider them experts, but they are continually, I guess, sharpening their saw in this area, and they'll be able to help our general ed teachers as well. We're going to also, that second one, dedicated pull-out time, it needs to be protected. We heard that loud and clear just from comments and emails that I've gotten throughout this last month, as well as the thought exchange, that it needs to be clear. And I want to make sure that we don't look at the 1 year, kind of this COVID experience where nothing really was done perfectly throughout COVID. So moving forward, we are going to make sure that we have rules in place. The principals have heard me say this before, and I'll say it again, that is going to be protected time, and that really is easy to do, and we'll just make sure that we're doing a good job with that. Each elementary school is going to have a dedicated classroom space with plenty of workspace for students, room for materials, room to keep student projects secure, and so that students could feel okay about coming back and their items weren't messed with, or that room isn't being shared with who knows what else. And I've gone to every elementary campus. We've talked to the principals, and I've seen the spaces myself, and they are all at least a classroom, a general classroom, and some even a nicer space, depending on what the campus has available. And we'll certainly continue that into the future. Kind of going on with that second piece, the dedicated pullout, we're going to continue to make sure that our teachers are appropriately trained and have the hours, not only the GT specialist, but teachers who have the cluster of GT students in their class. This is something that over the COVID years has not really been continued as it should, but we're going to make sure that GT students, to the extent possible, are clustered on the other 4 days of the week in that homeroom class so that they have opportunities to work with like-minded students and collaborate. We're also going to make sure that the GT specialists support the campus teachers. And that's going to be a big piece, and our GT specialists already know that, and they're going to be viewed as an actual specialist, much like the instructional specialist, dyslexia specialist, ESL specialist, to really be a support for the teacher teams who work with our GT students. Going on to number 3, providing support for the social, emotional, and academic needs of the gifted learner. I viewed, when I read the thought exchange comments about social, emotional needs, I really read it as a compliment because, again, our question was, what are the valuable components? And so some of those pieces rose to the top, but still, though, we feel that it's something that we can even put more emphasis on to build in SEL into our normal kind of GT experience, which we really haven't done that. It's sort of, I guess, been a happy accident that our GT specialists are just so good at working with our population, but we're going to put more emphasis there. We also would like to work to help establish a GT support group, and we know that there already is some interest out there in the community for this. That would be more kind of like a booster club. We kind of all know what booster clubs are about and do, and we would hope that this group could help us by planning off-campus, maybe after-school enrichment and other learning opportunities where we can pull like-minded students from across the district together, summer opportunities, perhaps even social events so that students can get to know other students from other campuses and things like that. We really need to do some out-of-the-box thinking. We're going to certainly plan our own field trips for our students to be able to pull students together again from other campuses and have some different experience. We've got lots of ideas churning and lots of opportunities here just in our own backyard that we can bring kids to, and we'll certainly do that. Number 4, expansion of 5th grade services. This was a big one. Like Ms. Marlin said, it was the number 1 thought. but that brings some challenges. It's over 100 kids pulling into our elementary program, and I'll talk about the challenges in a little bit, but essentially what that's meaning is that we're going from 1 month service pull out for 5th grade to every week, and we're really excited about that. And again, that's going to have that project-based approach. Providing a middle school GT elective, I think this is where we need to do a better job of communicating this. We are going to have a 6th grade GT, and we're calling it an elective. Essentially, it is an elective. That is the GT course, so a GT student enrolls in that course at the 6th grade level, but he or she will still have 2 elective options aside from the GT course. So that student will take the 4 content areas and then also a PE and then also that GATE course, and it could still take potentially a new CTE course that we're offering at the 6th grade level, or art, or maybe art and band. And so a student will have those options, and if that isn't enough options for a student, that student can always talk to his or her counselor, and we can even work on the GATE course. So even though it's not optional, there are always options, and we'll work with our students on a one-to-one basis. 7th grade, it really truly is an elective that students choose to take the GATE course or not. And then finally, moving on to 6, it's kind of the obvious one, allow GT students to participate in specials. Since we are going to go to the home campus model, again, looking at what the thought exchange showed us, if they're going to be on home campus, it is important to some, especially teachers, but also some parents, to allow them to participate in PE, art, music, and whatnot, the specials classes. Again, it doesn't mean that they're going to be pulled out during their protected GT time, but they will participate in that. I did want to mention we have oh goodness, you have my older version, I'm sorry, I didn't. But that elementary and middle school thought exchange, we do have the results for that, and I will tell you, we need to break it down further. I've never seen a thought exchange that is just, for, I guess the best way to put it, so random. The top thought just said that it was awesome and challenging and that they loved it. And so I was going to put awesome and challenging there, but you guys didn't get that piece. So we're still working on really trying to just look at that and decipher it. It's not as clean as the adult thought exchanges. We get definite themes. And then the high school thought exchange is still open. The participation has been quite low. I think we were up to possibly 40. Comparing the middle school thought exchange, we were over 100. So we're going to leave that open and maybe get some more participation there and glean what we can. That last star there, additional area to address, this did not rise high at all in the thought exchange. First day and 2nd grade moving to what I call a half day. But I did want to put that up here because we do recognize that that is an area of concern for some 1st or 2nd grade parents. Now, we'll say there's some polarization in there as well, because I've had some parents speak to me personally and let me know that they would like for it to be the full day, and I've had the opposite. Parents thanking us that it's about time we're addressing the needs of 1st and 2nd graders, and so we've kind of getting both sides. We are moving from 153 students across elementary this year to over 300. I think we're at 307 for next year. So we're over doubling in size. We're going to move up beyond that because we always increase in the fall. And so there are some major logistical challenge in making 1st and 2nd grade full day. So we are not going to be able to meet that request of some parents. I wish we could. We're not going to be able to do that. Lots of different reasons. We've tried all kinds of scheduling tricks and standing on our head and trying to figure out a way to make it work. However, I will say that it's about an hour and a half difference shorter, and the reason is because now that we're not going to be busing students, when we were busing students, we were locked in to the schedule. If a bus showed up 30 minutes late, it showed up 30 minutes late for everybody, and it just impacted the whole day. And that happened more often than you might think. No offense, buddy, I know you're doing the best you can finding people and getting our buses to work. But now that we don't have that as a challenge, we can play with the start and end times. And so our team is still looking at that. How can we squeeze out, as many minutes as we can? Again, we want to make two sides of the debate happy if at all possible, but that's where we're landing so far. And with that, no questions. I'm just kidding. Questions, please.
Question. You mentioned the booster club that you think might form. Are you also thinking about doing a parent advisory panel? We had that in the past, and I know COVID kind of threw all things out the window, but.
Yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
that would be
And we
different.
have a parent, so we put together a parent advisory, and it's going to have a different makeup moving forward for the following year. This year we had 4 principals, 4 parents, 2 specialists. I think that we need to have more parent representation and also gen ed representation. So we're going to change the makeup. It's probably going to grow a little bit. And we would also, we have Dr. Kettler in our back door. He is the chair, the commissioner's chair for gifted and talented education. He's already volunteered if we need him. So we need to pull some other people in. But yes, absolutely, we want to strengthen that advisory council moving forward.
Thank you for doing the thought exchange. I
Absolutely.
appreciate that. I'm glad to hear the community's thoughts. Yes, and I think you did a good job putting them all together and coming up with the decision.
Very revealing and informative.
Thank you.
Questions, as you might have expected. I do appreciate you guys at least doing the thought exchange. I think that, in my mind, is the start of a process. Apparently, in your mind, it was the end of the process, which I guess I regret that you feel that way, because it did reveal a lot of polarization. I actually had gone through and printed them all out to look at the responses, look at the ratings, and especially, I'm glad Tracy said this at the beginning of hers, that a lot of ratings add validity, because I think when you look at these and you look at 60 or 70 people responding versus 10 or 11, I think there's a big difference there when you see the sort of polarization that exists. So, to me, when I see polarization, it says we need to stop and build consensus rather than sort of plow on ahead. So was there really no thought given to actually meeting with parents, actually having an in-person conversation with parents? I know we had a GT night last week, which was great. Maybe adding a 30 minutes onto that for parents to come and hear from you what's going on and have a chance to respond in person.
That was the point of the thought exchange, to give parents the opportunity, sitting in their own home, to give their thoughts, to rate other people's thoughts. Doing a parent, what you described, it kind of sounds more like a town hall meeting. It could be positive. It could also bring people out who are on the extreme ends of a particular, piece of the proposal. I don't know. I think there's pros and cons to either way, but we have used thought exchange on so many different in so many different areas. It has served us well, and I think it has served us well in this situation as well.
That's a no. You didn't want to hear directly from parents then?
No, it's not a no. It's not a yes or a no. It's
Okay.
it's more nuanced.
Well, part of the reason I asked, I went back through, I was a parent at the time, but I went back through and actually in our board archives, there's information about all the way back to 2009 when the program we have now actually came into being. And, as early as November of 2009, they started this process by seeking feedback from parents and staff for several months in November, knowing that in February they would come to the board with a proposal that they wanted to change. And I know that from our conversation, Dr. Voigt said that you guys had started a conversation with principals in October about this idea. And I'm just wondering why we didn't engage parents at that time. Because our GT parents are pretty.
Yeah, but the program, when we say the program is changing, let's clarify it.
Yeah.
The program isn't really changing except for one aspect of it. And that one aspect is the location of the pull-out program. But the actual program itself is not, in terms of bringing students together, making sure we have an adequate number of kids. I know I have spoken extensively with the team about just look at it now. Sometimes one size doesn't fit all. It doesn't. There may be a campus with too few of students where it may not work, and we might have to bring them together. But it really is looking at the fact that, as I've said last meeting, 90+% of our plan in terms of our gifted services is continue to grow and expand. And they've done, to me, a fantastic job. And now, though, we just have this change of where they're located. And the thought exchange does show that it's not consensus on that. So when I look at it, this is just my thoughts of a thought exchange that just tells us that there's not one or the other. There's some strong, maybe one way or another, but this is where the team had proposed to go, and we'd like to continue to move forward. We're just giving you all as a board, though, the report. It's not an action item. It's not, you don't approve how dyslexia services or ESL services or some special education placements and all things like that. And so I think the takeaway that I got was the emotional and social support for kids is really vastly needed for gifted students, and we want to work with that. And then number two, about the program is making sure it's dedicated, protected time. And with 8 schools, we can do that. We can protect it. We can give them a room. The supplies is not an issue because we buy supplies based on numbers. And so as the program grows, the budgets grow, but it's on the number of kids, and we can disperse those. And they can have protected, lock the door, things like that. And our teachers, I think one of the things we have to consider, Tracy mentioned it, is the teachers and all teachers. All teachers work with GT students. And we want them to be even better for, again, majority of the time that kids are in school. And so they want the GT specialists on campus to also help them to differentiate some of the lessons that kids are normally doing. So I just feel like, yeah, I've told them, yes, in terms of a change like this, we have this tool. I wish we had used it first. But it is a good tool.
Thanks for that. And I agree that your opinion is that the only thing changing is location. The things that a lot of the parents value about the program is the ability to work with students from other campuses, about the ability to work with more than one GT teacher in a given day, the relationships that they form, even traveling on the bus, the fact that this means we're actually going to have less GT instruction time because that 30 to 40-minute bus ride is now being offset by an hour of specials time. So I think it's more than just the location.
Fifth grade is growing exponentially.
And it's great for fifth grade to have. I completely agree with that.
And they're the largest group, so that was a big rock
Right.
we needed to make sure we could do that.
Right, and so when you look at how this program started, it started because parents gave feedback, the district responded, and
They
the
didn't
board
have thought
approved that.
exchange.
You're right, they didn't. They actually got to have conversations and come up with a good approach.
The thought
And if
exchange
you look at that,
gives us that ability, and also it's not only the people who are willing or brave enough to come and speak in front of a board, but also those people who are, kind of shy. They don't want to really, get out there and put themselves out there in a
Right.
public kind of a talk or a debate.
it's definitely a piece to the puzzle, I agree.
Yes, sir.
One of the things I've become familiar with, I don't know if you guys are, this is the Texas State Plan for Gifted Education. I know you guys are familiar with it, and I've marked things in here. I'm not going to go through this in detail, but there's a lot of these things that we haven't been doing for the last several years. And one of the biggest is actually evaluating the program. We didn't really evaluate the program this year. We evaluated a change to the program without an evaluation of the program. We didn't do it last year, and we haven't had that. That advisory council actually is in here, that we have to have that, and we haven't had that. So, I know you guys are going to do what it is you want to do here. I think it's a travesty that you didn't start with parents on this, and that you won't even acknowledge now that not starting with parents was a mistake.
No, I'll acknowledge that. We should have flipped it. It would have been great to start with a thought exchange and then have the committee put together the plan moving forward. We did do it in reverse, but I really don't think it would be a different outcome.
It may or it may not, but
I can see
pointed
that.
out,
You're right.
I pointed out, and I think to Mr. Frett and his report, that they do a great job engaging parents in that. The Shack did a phenomenal job with what could have been a very contentious issue, engaging parents, and we did not do that
So
here.
should we do that with our special ed department as well? If we're going to make any changes, should we pull parents together before we make a move? Should we do that with ESL, or is it only for GT?
Well, I think when we have a program that started because parents spoke up and said, this is what we want, I think we should keep them in the process a little more than that. And I appreciate
Certainly.
you've acknowledged that moving forward, you'll have more parents involved. I said this to you in the meeting, and I mean it, regardless of what happens here, I want us to be successful, so we're going to put on our shoes tomorrow and go to work and help make that go. So,
let me just, right now, this is a report.
Yeah.
They've made the report. I'm not sure, do we need to continue to go back and forth here, guys?
No, I think they understand how I feel about it, how our parents feel about it, so I'm fine.
Okay. Anybody else?
I know one thing we brought up last month was to make sure we gave our teachers a chance to weigh in, and it's clear that was very insightful as well, and taking how they felt and the approaches that were important to them into account, and that was done. I think that was well done.
This is not an adversarial thing. I really appreciate that you committed to protecting this time for these students, because it's critical that they have that time uninterrupted from test makeups and other things like that that are unrelated. So let's get to work if that's the plan.
100% agree. Yes, sir. We'll do that.
I don't know how everybody else feels, but I mean, I think you guys are making the right call. I've been a customer on both sides of this with pullout and in school or being bused. And my experience is the instruction time in the homeschool is really it's the most valuable thing we provide as a district to any student. And so I think protecting that's the right call. So.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else? We all done? Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Colin. We will get ready to move to the consent agenda, but before we do that, we actually have two folks, one that had submitted a request, but had also signed up, and another that submitted a request to speak to the agenda item. So we're going to let those folks speak to the agenda item, which is, they wrote bus service, but I understand that to be pertaining to our resolution for the board to adopt potentially regarding the hazardous traffic routes. Elizabeth Oates. Elizabeth here? Hi, Elizabeth. I'm going to ask Ms. Watts to keep time. You know you have 3 minutes.
Okay,
And
I'll stick to it.
if she's ready to start down there.
I'm ready. Okay, I'm Elizabeth Oates. I'm a mom here in Midway. I have 5 kids who have all attended Midway schools at one point or another. I currently have 4 kids in Midway schools. One attends Midway Middle. She'll be at Midway High School next year. One is at River Valley. He will attend River Valley next year. 2 are at South Bosque, and they've been rezoned for Woodway Elementary next year. Next year they will be in kinder and 2nd grade, so we will have 6 years at Woodway Elementary. I'm here to request bus service for our neighborhood to Woodway Elementary. We live in that neighborhood that is the Pogue area, so we live between Ritchie Road and Pogue. It is 1.7 miles from our neighborhood to Woodway Elementary, and it's my understanding you have to be over 2 miles to receive bus service unless it is a hazardous route. So I think there are 2 ways to get from our neighborhood to Woodway Elementary. You can go through the neighborhood, or you can go on Highway 84 on the access road. So if you were to go through the neighborhood, there are no sidewalks, there's no crossing guard, there are 17 intersections that a child would have to walk through. 17 of those intersections, there's 13 of those intersections that have maybe one stop sign or no stop signs. There's no street lights in our neighborhood. There are some on Pogue, but the rest of the streets don't have street lights. So early in the morning, our kids would be walking in the dark. And Google Maps says it's a 35-minute walk. I think that's for an average adult. I don't think for a 6-year-old child it would probably take much longer. The second route is Highway 84 on the feeder road. There's really not an adequate shoulder for them to walk on. No sidewalk. It's not even paved. It's dirt and grass. There's not even a guardrail for them. Again, no crossing guard, and I didn't even count intersections because I think it's really impossible to expect a 6-year-old to walk on the Highway 84 access road. So I think that provides adequate examples of why it is hazardous for our neighborhood. I don't know if you have any questions or anything else for me. I think there's someone else that wants to speak to that as well.
What is the definition of hazardous that we are using? Does the state define what that means? Is it one of those great
Mr. Freeman-
undefined, is that a legal word that's undefined? Does that ever happen?
So, yeah, hazardous conditions has to do with, do they have to cross a hazardous roadway? You know, a couple things that, the 2-mile radius is set by the state, it's not set by us. And we're not saying that your child should walk, we're saying that you as a parent are responsible for their safe transportation to and from school. We transport about 1,800 to 2,000 kids. That's eligible kids who are over the 2-mile radius. About 40% of the kids that are eligible take us up on the service. And so if you lower that, we don't have the staff or the buses to provide it. And so I know that's more than what you asked. You know, the state does say in their definition, is there a safe route to walk? It doesn't specifically define sidewalks. I mean, Hewitt, the city of Hewitt doesn't require any sidewalks, you know, in their neighborhoods. Did that answer?
Nor does Woodway either. They haven't been
So
required.
it's one of those fun and ambiguous mandates that we have.
It's not like we wouldn't want to. As a district, you know, in terms of providing anyone who wanted bus services, the funding is 2 miles and above that the district receives. We had, in the resolution that's in the board packet, you've looked at it every single year, and it really patterns along major thoroughfares, like Highway 84, Spiegelville Road, Hewitt Drive. There are 2 that are on there that I recall that are temporary, and that is Spring Valley. We added Spring Valley, it's under construction. But when it comes off of construction, it is being redone by TxDOT for sidewalks, bicycle lane, things like that. So that one is temporary, and when that road project is finished, we will remove it. And then the other one, it would be Chapel. Chapel Road will be under construction. It's in the city of Waco's capital improvement, and that is from the corner there of Hewitt Drive till the roundabout. And so that's also temporary until that one, there's much construction along that particular road, as well as the road itself will be in construction. So other than that, we do, again, this neighborhood, I feel for residents, I feel them throughout the entire district, because it's not just this one, it's many, many neighborhoods within 2 miles that are very similar circumstances that Ms. Oates mentioned about no sidewalks or stops, a number of stops, cross guards, things like that. Woodway itself speaks specifically about the elementary school, has not as very few bus routes overall as a campus. Most are within, you know, its zone is within 2. Some, yes, or above, but one of those campuses. Hewitt Elementary is another one. Has very few above, if any, bus routes to Hewitt because of the population.
What is this going to look like next year? And since we're going to 8 schools in the new
Yes.
zones extensively, so we know it's not just
Yes.
that Woodway does it now, but they don't, even under next year's plan.
Yes, and so, and then we also look, in the past, we haven't had requests either for any zones going to South Bosque either, that are within, you know, for bus transportation until this year either. So we also look at historically too. But do the best we can with the resources we can with the drivers and the equipment, as Mr. Freeman said.
Can I respond? Because I know last year, y'all granted bus service to Twin Rivers, and that was crossing one major street with kids who are much older, and they only cross one major street, and then they get to a neighborhood that has sidewalks, that has streetlights. So I'm just curious why
It's
that's...
the busyness of Spiegelville Road, I recall.
And they also have a crossing guard, and they also are crossing a busy street that has a traffic light. And we don't have a traffic light, we don't have a crossing guard. We have much younger kids. We have no sidewalks.
Right, but I said, again, it's many, many other parts of the district.
Is once we can get sidewalks there, right, that would potentially come off the list, the Spiegelville Road near Twin Rivers. I know that's
Yes.
further out. The city's not planning
You're
that
right,
yet,
we have
but once they
repeatedly
do-
asked with
But
the
that
city
doesn't
of
help our
Waco,
neighborhood.
Right.
we've repeatedly asked them to put sidewalks
I
in.
agree.
It would be temporary, if they would put them in, we would probably be in much better shape, yes.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Bryce Sanval.
this evening. I actually live in the exact same neighborhood, and we just discovered just today that we have kids in the exact same grade. I have 4 daughters. My oldest is at River Valley and will be a 7th grader next year. I have a 5th grader that will be grandfathered in to stay at South Bosque to finish off her South Bosque career, so to say. And I have a 2nd grader who will begin her Woodway Elementary School start, and then I have a 3-year-old that will, one of these days get over to Woodway Elementary. Yeah, when I pulled it up on Google Maps, like she said, it's a 35-minute walk on the 84 axis. That's the fastest route from our neighborhood to Woodway Elementary is on the access road of 84, going the opposite way of traffic without guardrails for kids that are 6 years old and older, 6 years old to 5th grade. My daughter actually did that same route with some friends this year. She rode the bus home from River Valley to our house, which was great. Actually went a couple of times with some friends over to River Valley, to Twin Rivers. I was kind of surprised, like I said, to see that Twin Rivers had a bus route that are much older kids that just came, half a mile possibly that way. So what I would ask for is, I know that it costs more funds. I get that as a taxpayer in this city, in this district. But I strongly recommend that this is a priority for kids that are from kindergarten to 5th grade to get to school safely, which is the main objective here. So I know we are not the only 2 that are in this circumstance, and there's probably a number of people that may say, "Oh, I fall into the same category," and those shall be brought up. But I know there are multiple people in our same shoes that would want our sons and our daughters to get to and from school safely. And a 35-minute walk or a bike ride that would be less on the access road to 84 is just not a safe. It's not a safe route. It's a hazardous route.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm guessing you've had kids zoned to South Bosque prior to this, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So were they walking to South
They
Bosque?
walked in, ridden their bikes. Yes.
And what's that kind of commute like?
It's hard going uphill. No, it's maybe 1.1 mile, I think. It's downhill one way and uphill the other way. We play at the park at South Bosque because we're not that too far from there. So if we hit up Pogue, it's great. And we go to South Bosque. They're both about a mile from our house. It's almost double the length to Woodway Elementary, and it's a much more hazardous route to get there. I wouldn't let my girls walk to the park at Woodway Elementary to go play if it was Saturday. We wouldn't walk there just because it's not safe. So I don't know what the recommendation is, if to say, hey buddy, could we work this out? What does it cost? What does it look like for the neighborhood? And what does it say to other folks that put this out there? And maybe there's not enough people that need it or want it. But I would bet that our neighborhood, which is new to the elementary school this year, will have a number of folks wanting bus service.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, consent agenda then. We have our minutes from our special called meeting from April, regular meeting from April, a number of early graduation requests, the resolution that these folks were just speaking about, our GMP that we talked about earlier, a new position request, our sex education curriculum, and approve the additional playground equipment that Buddy talked about. Does any board member wish to remove any item from the consent agenda?
I'd like to remove number 7, really just for a question.
All right.
And number 4 as well.
And number 4 as well. Anybody else? If not, do we have a motion to approve 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 8 on the consent agenda?
So move.
Motion by Ms. Vick. Second. Second by Mr. Alford. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Colin, your question on number 7.
When I had, she's not here anymore, is she? Oh, good. I know when I was at the Shack, the timeline that was laid out was that it was presented to the board in May and voted on in June. Is that, it doesn't have to happen that way though, right? We can approve it right now? Okay. I just didn't know if there were people who were expecting us to do it in June because they needed to speak or something. Okay,
And I sent this to all the Shack committee too, so
Great.
they knew the dates and all of that.
thank you. I move we approve number 7.
Motion by Mr. Witt, second by Ms. Fick. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Number 4, our resolution on designating hazardous traffic routes. Colin?
I just felt like we should make sure we're really in agreement on this before we just pass it on without really considering a vote. We could say, add to our list, streets west of Pogue and north of 84 that are zoned to Woodway Elementary, and it would be a relatively narrow slice of streets that we would be making available for bus service. Because that's that neighborhood that just got moved in the rezoning, and it really only goes from Pogue over to Merrifield, is that right? So I don't know if there's any interest in that. If I need to make a motion and see if there's a second, but I just felt like it's at least something we should talk about.
I mean, I would like, if that was, I mean, we'd like to know if it was even possible, what our resources would be able to do that. Because I'm assuming everything that's on here, you've already looked at, approved, made sure we can resource it correctly, right? So I don't know if we'd be able to vote on it without asking them
Without
to do
knowing
further,
that. That's a good point.
further study or give us what our resources can handle.
Yeah, we can probably make that work.
At least a dozen.
But if we opened it up for everybody that lives within 2 miles to have bus transportation, there's no possible way. I've done the math on that in the past, and just if the same percentage of kids ride, it would double the number of buses and drivers that we would need.
Yeah.
So that would be my only concern. If you open it up, where do you stop? I mean, he's exactly right. If you want to designate that area as hazardous, you can do that.
It'd also be the other one on Polk. What about the other Polk neighborhood? Been zoned to Woodway for years.
Right.
Yeah, that's my
Well,
concern.
I'm bitter.
is-
I never had bus service either down
Where you live, yeah.
on
Yeah.
You had to ride uphill?
Oak Hollow.
Uphill
Yeah,
one way or the
yeah.
other?
Well, as I look at how we've got things designated, the only thing is just not knowing what the standard is, having a clear understanding of what we're designating as hazardous. I understand, I can look at these and go, oh yeah, that makes sense. That would be hazardous, but you can also understand their frustrations with
I do too.
not having a clear definition. And I don't know if we should come up with our own or how we want to do that, but just some way that we're.
Again, as I said, it's been the major thoroughfares. Highway 84,
Well-
you would drive.
Fast highway,
Fast
multi-lane.
Multi-lane things.
Yeah, that's
construction
easy to
areas.
define, right?
Yeah,
Text
yeah.
dot,
And temporary.
Yeah,
to,
fast.
Speeds over whatever.
And even when
you
we
could-
approved the Twin Rivers group, there was no light at Beagleville. That light is new. It's Beagleville and Oak Road. So the light wasn't there. We
That's
did
right,
that.
you're right.
So that maybe that's something we can, rethink in the future. There's a light there now. But that traffic is 50 miles an hour, 45 to 50 miles an hour on that
45
street.
right there.
45. Well, it's 45, but everybody goes
Yeah, oh, clearly.
50. So,
Believe me, I do too.
so yeah, so it is a fast street.
We're not in charge of speed limits here, so let's.
Well, and
let's not take
there's
any more
growing
than we have to.
construction around there too, whereas this neighborhood's a little more.
I think the other thing you got to remember, though, is funding, buddy. What's our funding for hazardous routes? When we declare hazardous routes and we run buses on that, within 2 miles, we get pretty much fully funded, right?
So the law has this funding. You cannot have any more, you you take the mileage of your regular routes and whatever that total mileage is, you can only have up to 10% of that amount designated as hazardous. We're not real close to that 10% yet.
It looks like we're about 1%, weren't we? Looking at the report here, 297,000 miles, 2197 hazardous.
But if we declare something hazardous, do we get full funding from the state for it?
You get funding for the miles.
Good.
There's two ways that funding works. You get a per mile funding, and that funding is determined by how many kids per mile that you have riding the bus. Linear density is what they call it. Hazardous kids do not count in your linear density formula. Only the eligible kids count in that formula, which determines how much per mile you get. As long as you're under the 10%, then you get whatever the linear density says you're going to draw per mile, you'll draw that for hazardous miles. Wesley can tell you better than me, but I would assume that our transportation funding is maybe 30% of what we actually spend on transportation.
Yeah, it's a pretty small fraction, yeah.
As last we checked, it was based on 1984. I think that was the last time the transportation allotment was.
That's not taking into account
Yeah,
gas is
gasoline.
going
and
now.
I'm just saying, I'm not trying to be adversarial in this. It's just,
No.
transportation is a very difficult enterprise to run as it is for us.
There was one year in there, I think it was 1995, we actually lowered it 5% when we did away with the standee rule.
So we're trying to run buses on numbers that are at least 30 years old with 2022 gas prices.
Yes.
Okay, well, I'll do this just so we can do it. Move that we add to the list of hazardous routes, everything west of Pogue and north of 84 that is zoned to Woodway Elementary.
Before we make a second on that, selfishly, my neighborhood, Lake Forest, is obviously zoned to Woodway and has always been. My neighborhood is 1.7 miles, I looked at it, about 1.7 miles to Woodway Elementary. If you're going through the neighborhood, up that big steep hill near Sleepy Hollow over there, behind the family center. And, if you're going through the neighborhood, it's 1.7 miles. If you're going down estates, which also doesn't have sidewalks, I don't know if that's considered part of Hewitt Drive and is the hazardous route or not, but I would love to have a bus for my first and fourth graders. So my concern is, I think it's what Rick said, is like, where does this stop? I'm not against necessarily advocating for adding a bus route past Pogue to what was formerly zoned to South Bosque, but you gotta look at the slippery slope that starts. Because, if we're handing out bus routes, I'll take one. I mean, it'd be great. I'd love it. But that's my only comment. So again, not necessarily saying we shouldn't vote for it, but.
So, but right now, we have a motion to, as I understand it, Colin, you correct me if I'm wrong, approve the resolution with your addition.
But to amend it, right.
Yeah, approve the resolution as it is with that amendment to add on as an extra number.
Yes.
So that's the motion. Is there a second?
Is this something we have to decide at this time of the year?
That's a good question, Pam. That's what I was sitting here thinking is there time to study the issue basically that Rick alluded to and that Jonathan has brought up of if we do this, what are we looking at in terms of potential requests from other folks too?
If I'm hearing you correctly, we do have some margin to get additional hazard route funding, correct?
But it only pays 30%.
Yeah.
I don't know if you caught that.
Yeah, and we're currently 5 drivers short now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unfilled jobs.
So, I mean, there's a financial impact that we don't know, so I would be,
Right.
I would not want to vote on something I didn't know what it was.
Well,
in my opinion, it's a long walk, but it is all through neighborhood. There's not a major street that has to be crossed to get from where they are to Woodway. Same, you can go back ways to get there, right?
if there's any wiggle room, I'd love to see us add additional route, but I want to make sure we're as well-informed as possible about if there's one neighborhood in these conditions that we get to pick, I want to make sure we're not overlooking or failing to consider other neighborhoods in similar circumstances. Well, how come the former South Bosque people got a bus, you know?
And they have to be fair for the whole district.
Yeah.
So is there a second?
Well, I will withdraw the motion, and I will move that we approve number 4 as written.
All right. Gets to withdraw his motion.
Before it failed.
So a motion to approve consent agenda item number 4, the resolution as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Vick. Any further discussion?
Is this something we can come back to and consider at a later time? Adding anything?
Table it for next time?
I will not table it, but I think Pam's question
For next
is,
year.
is the issue of what other hazardous routes, if any, do we potentially designate? Can that be looked at, and is there time to do that before the next school year starts? Of course, sir.
What say you, buddy?
I don't think there's a hard set date that you can always, you as a board designate the hazardous conditions, so they
Okay.
can be changed at any time.
So all we're doing tonight is approving the ones that are already on the list, but that doesn't rule out approving additional ones.
Correct.
Okay.
Anybody else? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Personnel, don't we need to approve the ones? Did we delegate authority to him to hire professionals that extended through? Okay. I just want to be sure. Those people would appreciate the fact that they've actually got a contract.
They do.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Hiring them right away so they don't go somewhere else.
Right. So.
Yes.
Superintendent's communications, graduation before we go into closed session?
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, graduation.
As if graduation's not always fun enough, we're going to talk about.
No, it's fun. This is to celebrate our
No,
students.
no, I'm talking about from the board's
Oh, yeah,
perspective, the
yeah, yeah.
logistics of it.
Logistics.
Are we wearing robes
Yes.
this year?
Okay, so graduation, again, Friday night. Supposed to be a little cooler. I've been watching the weather, but a little bit cooler than it has
We're going to
been.
go out on the field and do our anti-rain dance?
Yeah, yes. So 8 p.m. again, but this time, again, nothing changes with the fact that we rent that podium stage from Penley and the size that it is. So you all will be in your same spot before. But because, of course, different times in the last 2 years with COVID, you're certainly welcome, if this is the will of the board, to wear your robe again, and then we can bring you in the back and you can do your alphabet as you've done in the past. For example, then, of course, Brad Alford has a student graduating. He would have the A's through something. We would get that list, and we can't go back and forth. So you have to look at the list of students broken up and determine which one you want based on maybe there's some of them you know. You always get preference when it's your own student, of course. So we would go through that and then just have you all do what you traditionally have done, wear the robe. Ms. Smith is working with counselors to procure, be sure we have those that we need. It is hot. I wear mine. I swelter and I'm hot and I got to do it. But you wear yours. One benefit is, you know, don't have to dress up underneath. Let's put it that way. Underneath your robe. So you might get a little benefit that way of shorts or something, where it's not as. But you are in a picture. Again, those are for purchase. Not every student purchased them. But I'm just saying there is an official picture of graduation. Other than that, though, again, we're excited about graduation on the stadium. We'll have very similar format as we've always had in the last 2 years, and expecting to graduate over 600 students. So. Right, anything else, Ms. Smith? So it's the will of you all about that particular part. Open seating, no assigned seating, no blocks of seating. Come all, please, come.
So when George and I were talking about this Friday, I said, I don't know whether the board wants to have the opportunity to shake hands and hand out diplomas or not. And he then said, well, if the board wants to do that, are they going to wear robes? And I said, question, we should talk about it.
Well, I would like to hand out diplomas, and I would like to wear robes.
Are we going to keep the black ones that we've
I
had?
said that every year. I
Whatever-
got those
yes, we
robes.
had it
We need to
before.
wear
Keep the
those
one-
robes.
The one we've had before,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Yes, you have your robe already.
Because I have a blue dress that matches the kids, it's just spectacular.
You don't get a diploma.
I know, but.
Sorry.
I feel like we provide limited.
Oh, I'm
value
happy to be done.
handing out diplomas.
Oh.
What's that?
It's fun.
That's
I
my
like
fun,
doing
that's
it.
the funnest thing.
It is
handing
fun
out
for us, but I
diplomas.
don't know if we provide a lot of value to
For
the
our
student
friends,
experience.
well, the people we know.
Yeah.
Matter, folks. I'm happy.
I mean,
Either
Who
way.
else?
they know
What
who
everyone else
they know who their principal is. They know who their superintendent is.
Yeah.
They know, you know.
Yeah, Ms. Smith and I do that, take
They
it.
did that anyway.
Well, then we'd figure out where to greet
You
them.
stand- I mean,
Greet
you
them or
stand there. I mean,
stand.
But they're
right,
not- they're not in the
Will they get a
picture,
picture
but
with
with
them, or will they
picture.
get another picture?
Yeah.
I'm not doing it for the picture.
I know. I'm just trying to think what's best from their standpoint.
There's one picture spot at the, and it'll be the official, get their diploma.
Get the diploma.
So maybe do if we have one or two really special.
Yeah, I mean, I think we still do the special ones, right? We still, if it's our student,
All or
Your
nothing,
child.
if it's not
if
my
it's our
child.
child, we still get the opportunity to go do that,
Yeah.
which, I mean, that's,
Of course, you're gonna do your own
that
child.
is certainly
Of course, you're
a
gonna do your own child.
very humbling privilege that we get, so I don't want to overplay that. So
Susan,
What does everybody else
Susan's
think?
for it.
Yep, yep.
Pam,
Jonathan, what's your thoughts, Pam?
Jonathan's.
I defer to the will of the crowd. I don't have a
Would
kid,
you like
I don't
I'll go
have a
with
dog
Flo.
in this fight
You know,
anymore.
I'm with Susan on this one this time. We didn't do it last year. We couldn't, COVID stuff, since I think we should get as close back to normal as we can, and if that's normal, I'm for that.
The robes are definitely normal.
Oh, I'm not looking forward to that. I
This is
already
the
gave
meat
up my
of
size,
board
but-
governance, is talking about robes or no robes.
Brad, what do you want to do?
Yes, it is.
Get to
Give a
hand
child.
mine out to my kid anyway, so I don't.
He didn't get, he
He
has a child. He has a
my
child.
nephew too, or not, or can I skip that?
No. you can-
He's an A, so you'll have the A's.
yeah, a little
You have the
B
A's.
right
You'll have the
there.
A's, you got
Study
both
your
of them.
blood.
I'll take it.
Will we be on the stage if we go that route?
No.
To give the diploma, but not.
Yeah, we'll go back to
Otherwise,
our
you're gonna
side.
sit in the same place.
Where we were last year.
Allison and team will figure that out.
'Cause-
We'll show you how to move up from the behind and come up and take.
That to me was the neatest part, because then we get to see them all for a long time while they wait their
Wait in
turn, and I actually like that.
And you
Well,
still
will sit
will,
there.
Yeah, but we'll still do
still
that,
will.
right,
You still will.
except for when you're up there in
Up
your
there.
robe shaking hands.
right, gotcha.
If that's what we
Is
do.
it logistically a lot harder to shuffle us in and out?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
a lot faster and a
It's
lot
a fire
easier.
drill.
And it's a lot easier for me just to do.
Yeah.
Well, okay, then there's value in not doing it.
It goes quickly, except for like Mr. Alfred
right.
definitely does his own job. Yes, things like that.
Yeah.
But robes are definitely
I
helpful.
want to switch my vote, and I'm with Rick on this
And
one.
you can dress more casually, because people are dressed
We can
more
still wear our
casually.
robes and not give out diplomas.
You can wear a robe.
You can't- I wouldn't
I think it
recommend
looks
that.
nice when we all sit there looking nice.
But
In
the same,
our
Are you
robes,
saying we
we're
don't look
matching.
nice?
an outdoor graduation,
You have a preference, Jonathan?
Jonathan looks nice.
I'm going with the flow.
so
You
somebody.
go to
Just don't make me
college
be the deciding
graduation, they
vote.
all wear robes, college
Oh,
graduations.
believe me, I've been to a lot of them.
Yes.
Board of trustees wear their robes.
So I'm thinking here, two that are against it. Mr. Alford is,
I'm against it.
Against robes?
No, he's against handing out diplomas, right?
Oh, I'm.
You want to do
I'm
a
gonna hand out
robes.
the diploma.
I know, but you want to
I
do
don't care about
robes.
the robe.
But if we're gonna hand out diplomas, we have to wear the robes.
Yes.
That's not an option,
Yes.
right? So,
Like you did last year, and you weren't in your robe, right?
I was wearing clothes, but
Yeah.
and I just did my one child though, because of COVID.
Yeah.
I just think the robes look nice, professional. Makes us just look uniform.
Y'all decide. Come on. Come on.
Apparently, I'm the only
Yay or
one.
nay?
yea or nay, folks? We have three.
The only thing that would throw a monkey wrench in this whole thing is like if we can't get robes before next Friday.
Are they black?
Yes, but then we get hoods with your schools and things like that. That would be the only thing that would throw this off. And because that's a shortage, because materials are sitting in the ocean, so
I do have a black robe in my closet,
So,
and I've grown a little, but probably not a lot.
So
and
we're
I'm
trying to
sure we
answer a
can
question.
locate too, it just may not be the right hoods that go with them, so.
That's not good information, Allison.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just want to be very honest about when we start calling
Thank
about
you.
robes.
Nobody wants us to wear robes.
I don't have a master, so I don't need a hood. I don't know if Jonathan.
I'm for the board shaking hands and handing out diplomas, but I don't, I mean, I get it. in
We can
terms
wear
of-
cabana wear as far as I'm concerned, whatever you
you know,
want.
But I also understand if we're gonna do that, you ought to look right for the picture. That's the big thing.
Right.
Right.
So.
So you're voting yes? Voting
I said I'm for that as a general principle, but,
You're on my side.
no, because I think it's a good thing, like Rick said, I think that's a really neat thing to do.
It is, I think it's.
On the other hand, because of the circumstances, it's a little bit awkward, because we're gonna have to get up and trek around, and I don't think that's gonna take any longer,
No.
because you're gonna still be in the same position,
Right.
and.
And we'll time it so you're there. If we do this, if we continue to always have it outside in the stadium.
Well, I mean, like when we done it at the Farrell Center, the board doing it didn't add any extra time to it.
No.
No.
Because everybody's there and ready to go.
Right.
Just here's the reality, the only people that know we're on the school board are our kids, and all the rest of them are gonna take a picture and they're gonna look back and go, who was that? You know?
True.
Oh, it's George Kazanis, superintendent, you know? He was a very important man.
600
So-
handshakes later.
Yeah.
Carpal tunnel, where we're going.
That's right.
So we're trying to help you, George. You still shake their hands, though. You still shake their hands.
Okay, so what I sense is that George is gonna be shaking hands next Friday night.
Sounds like it.
Aye. Yep.
This is really just one I want to do. Maybe
Couldn't
I
you
can
just
still
do your
that
one?
I mean, I think then, again, can worms again.
Oh.
But that's just how I feel about it.
All right, we done with graduation?
Yes, sir. And then we have, the other thing, just to be sure, Pam, would you hold that up? We had prepared this, thanks to Rick, attending a neighborhood association meeting, and Pam also, but as requested, Tracy and Wesley and myself worked to put some tax facts together, as you might get questions about tax rates, you might get questions about appraisals, budget, where Midway stands, so we just wanted to put some things together for you. If you are going or know or asked any others, let us know, Tracy, we can get more copies for you and things like that. So, yeah.
We're gonna mail it, right?
Well, it's in our packet. It was in our, wasn't
Mail,
this
but
in-
it's going to be emailed.
Yeah.
Right.
We saw this somewhere online. Was it in
That
the
was in
weekly
the
or the packet?
Weekly update.
The weekly
yeah.
update.
Is it going up on the, like social media?
Just required via email and link to the PDF to be able to print it, but for, our priority for timing was to get it done.
Sure. Well, and thank you for doing this, and thanks, Rick, for speaking. I think you had the clearest presentation.
Because they have the best material to work with.
Yes.
Very good.
We had a couple that spent 5 or 10 minutes not answering questions directly, but that was not you.
How about other elected officials?
Oh.
Yeah, other elected officials. But I felt like the Midway material was well received.
Yeah.
Thank
You
you.
done?
Yep.
Sure.
Positive.
Positive, he says.
Cooked.
All right, so we're gonna go into closed session on real estate matters under 551.072 of the Texas Government Code at,
She doesn't, I do.
551.074 personnel, thank you, at 9, what o'clock is it? 24 by that one?
9:24, Apple time. Please. Take a quick break, let's go.
No break.
Jonathan, you need an alarm.
No break. Go straight to the room.